Good evening, Rams. I'm Mckinney.
And I'm Mattison Brumagim. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight for CTV News.
We have lots of big stories for you all tonight, so let's jump right into it.
After almost 4 decades, one of Colorado's most horrific cases has finally come to a close.
In 1984, 12-year-old Janelle Matthews disappeared after a family friend dropped her off at her Greeley home. When her father arrived at the house, Janelle was nowhere to be found, but police discovered snowy footprints near the windows of her home.
The case became national after former President Ronald Reagan made it his mission to bring Janelle and thousands of other missing children home. However, the case went cold until one day in July of 2019.
Janelle's body was discovered after 35 years by oil workers digging in a pipeline that was part of rural Greeley. The remains were wearing the same clothes Janelle was in when she disappeared, and the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head.
Her former neighbor, Steve Pankey, and ex-gubernatorial candidate appeared as a person of interest due to the claims that he had information on Janelle's disappearance.
Due to incriminating conversations he had with his wife, Pankey was arrested, and his sentencing occurred this past Monday. Pankey is serving life in prison with a chance of parole, despite claiming his innocence.
Janelle was in the 7th grade and loved to sing. She was in the honors choir and was performing Jingle Bells just before her life was taken. After 38 years, may Janelle Matthews finally rest in peace. A DUI case from last March has been dismissed, but this one is more unique than others. A Fort Collins police officer connected to this arrest muted his body cam footage for over 30 minutes. Carly Zimmerman's arrest is one of 10 DUI cases connected to Officer Jason Hafferman that is now under an internal affairs review. When Zimmerman was pulled over, Officer Hafferman asked how much alcohol she had drank. She responded that she had none, but she had been crying for the past 3 hours due to a breakup. However, Officer Hafferman said in his initial report that Zimmerman refused a chemical, breath, or blood test, despite body cam footage showing otherwise.
You just take a breath or a blood test? Blood?
On the way to the hospital for the test, Officer Hafferman muted his body cam footage, and the clips at the hospital were blurred by Fort Collins Police Services. Although privacy laws mandated the blurring of the footage while in the hospital, it made it impossible to see if Zimmerman signed a consent form for the blood test or hear if she changed her mind to consent to it because of the muted audio. This case is one of at least 17 other DUI cases connected to Officer Hafferman that have been dismissed by the district attorney. Hafferman has not been fired or suspended and is still currently working as a patrol officer. The department did conduct an internal investigation in early October. However, they have not yet released the results.
It is officially November, and the midterm elections are here, and voters get to choose who they want to represent their communities. With an election so important as it determines city, state, and national leadership, citizens around the country are wondering how to vote, where to turn in their ballots, and how in-person voting works to make sure everyone who is able to participate in their constitutional right. Before heading down to the polls to drop off their ballot, voters need to make sure they're registered. Citizens can do this by heading over to the Colorado Secretary of State's website under voter registration to make sure they can participate in the midterm election. Once they do so, a ballot should be mailed to their address. From there, voters can vote on 61 governmental races and ballot issues present in Larimer County, on top of state elections, including the 2022 Colorado governor election. When a voter is satisfied with their choices, they can head to any local voting poll and drop their ballot off in the mail. Voters can also go to local polls and vote in person. They need to be in line by 7 in the evening on November 8th in order to make their vote count.
We now toss it over to our live reporter, Gavin Wolf, and ASCSU beat reporter, Kyra McKinley, who have more information on some specifics about this election cycle.
Take it away, guys.
Thanks, JJ and Madison. Many topics of discussion are floating around the community involved with the election.
Yes, and one of those is alcohol sales. With the state election coming up, alcohol sales are a hot topic on the ballot. If Propositions 125 and 126 pass, it could get a whole lot easier for Coloradoans to purchase alcohol. But what does this mean for local businesses? This week, I met with the managing partner of Fort Collins' #1 liquor store to find out more. One major change Colorado could see comes from Proposition 125, which will allow grocery and convenience stores to sell wine starting March 1st of 2023.
It didn't seem like the hugest deal to me. Like, it kind of made sense to make it more available.
A lot of liquor stores, they'll definitely have some more competition, I feel like, but they'll probably have more demand than the grocery stores.
If Amazon and Walmart don't sell wine, they're going to be just fine. Where if Amazon and Walmart do sell wine, Wilbur's may not be here in 2 years. Our studies have shown that somewhere between 700 and 900 stores will be out of business in 24 months.
Ordering alcohol from home is another new option on the ballot. Proposition 126 will allow third-party services like DoorDash and Grubhub to deliver alcohol.
I feel like they can still have systems in place to check and ID and make sure that people are being responsible.
Where does liability fall? These third-party deliveries don't own a liquor license. They have a $100 delivery permit, and they've got gig workers delivering stuff. But there's not the background checks. There's not the things that go into it of having a Wilbur's employee who I know knows how to tell if somebody's drunk or high or, all types of things before we deliver alcohol to their house.
There are a lot of loopholes within that system. To each his own.
Matt encourages voters to support the propositions that they see fit, but to remember the importance of alcohol safety.
We sell a product that is different than most. It's highly regulated for a reason. Yes, you want people to have access to it, but you want the right people to have access to it, and you want it to be consumed with care.
Currently, 26 states allow third-party services to deliver alcohol. Voting this month will determine if Colorado will be the 27th state added to this list.
Another topic of discussion that can actually be seen as relevant to CSU is a debate between Michael Bennett and Joe O'Day.
I don't think he should have done it the way he did it, and I said that before, and I said it after. I think that they did make it more targeted than they were originally, but it wasn't nearly what I thought they should do, which was do it for the people that need it the most, the poorest people in our country that have that debt, and not go above median family income for doing it, because I just think it's wrong for them to do it that way.
Following Michael Bennett's response, Joe O'Day then proceeded to answer this question as well.
I got to tell you, the guys that work for me, working Americans, they don't want to pay somebody else's tuition. They don't. And I would challenge you, will you run a bill? Congress has purse strings.
We're not doing additional questions right now, sir.
Will you run a bill to prevent that from happening?
For more information on the debate, you can find the full debate video on the 9 News website. That's all we have for you guys.
Back to you, JJ and Madison.
Thank you, Kyra and Gavin. Remember, the election officially ends on November 8th.
If you wish to vote, look for any ballot drop boxes or voting booths near you before that date. Now shifting topics, a crack in a water flow line at a Prospect Energy oil and gas facility in Fort Collins was found when officials from the state's Air Pollution Control Division conducted an inspection on Tuesday. This prompted state agencies to investigate the site and initiate a cleanup effort. Residents near the Krause site reported strong odors of hydrogen sulfide, which is commonly associated with the smell of rotten eggs. The facility connected to the leak is just south of the company's Krause tank battery site, which state officials ordered to shut down back in August. Although the leak was found in a field next to the Krause site, state officials confirmed that the water flow line is from another Prospect Energy site located near the Hearthfire neighborhood. The investigation is still ongoing, but cleanup for the contaminated soil around the leak has begun.
The mistreatment of communities of color by the institutions responsible for their care is a painful reality for many. According to many recent studies, including the Princeton Student Climate Initiative, communities of color are more likely to be exposed to terrible living conditions like air pollution. Now, a CSU study has found that those living in those conditions may experience things far worse than originally feared. The study came to the discovery that most racially segregated communities tend to breathe a stronger and more lethal form of air pollution. This contaminated air contains substances and toxic metals like lead, cadmium, and nickel. Lead research scientists Jack Krotos and John Volkins found that these communities that are breathing in this toxic air are more susceptible to cancer-causing compounds. The study also points to the possibility that health disparities in communities of color could be due to the fact that they are exposed to these toxic conditions. Both scientists say it is a result of widespread systemic ethnic injustice that was rampant in the United States' history. The study found that targeted emission reductions could help with the overexposure in historically segregated communities. Kojo stated that while these findings were a tragedy, environmental cleanups could improve air qualities in these communities across the country and right this wrong. While we're on the topic of air quality, we're going to take a short break.
Then Adam Carlson will join us to provide a rundown on what to expect for the weather for the rest of the week. Stick around. Welcome back from the break, Rams.
With Fort Collins being a predominantly white community, it can be hard for people of color, or POCs for short, to find communities that represent their culture. This can make it difficult to find schools, places for worship, safe spaces, and especially businesses. With black residents specifically, this becomes even harder with a 1.6% population rate here in Fort Collins. However, one black business owner hopes to change that status quo with her music.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner.
Sasha Butler has been using her voice to uplift her community. Ever since she was a kid, she has been creating music to touch the heart and soul of the communities that taught her everything she knows.
Music allows me to express myself, to connect with the community, to enliven and create, and give the example to others of just playing and being and existing.
Butler and her band, Lewis and the Lantern, are able to spread their creativeness through her business, Urban Monk Studios.
Having the space here for that, for our collective people, is so important. Oh, I know I can go to Urban Monk Studios, play some music and chill, right? As well, it's an uplifting space.
Butler speaks about the experience of being a black-owned business in a predominantly white community and what that means going forward.
I was very scared. When I started the studio, there weren't very many black people here. I had to battle humans here who literally, I was the first black person they'd met.
Being a black-owned business owner and a black musician comes with a duty to advocate for black voices. Butler describes that responsibility.
The black diaspora is integrated. It is conceptual, the music here. So what I do is I take the music in our black diaspora and our history, and I bend it. I teach the history, and then I make it just, this is what it can also do, and expand it.
Butler knows that what she does can form a connection that transcends boundaries and unites the community.
This is a place, a sacred space, that I want to be an example for everyone, to recognize businesses should be energetically growing the community, right?
Businesses of color are here to stay. Fort Collins, Butler, and other POC owners want their communities to know that there is a home for them right here in Fort Collins.
Members of the community are working hard to do what they can going into this busy holiday season to ensure our community will be set up for success no matter what could happen.
Is that the trauma pager? This is the fourth one.
Northern Colorado is still experiencing a blood supply shortage. With the holiday season underway, traumas and the need for blood donations is still at large. Sarah Norrell, who has been an anesthesia technician for the past 3 years, shares the vital role of this position when it comes to traumas in the OR.
In traumas, we're really just there focused on the anesthesia provider and whatever they need. They need to transfuse blood, then we will help them set up the level 1 transfusion machine. If they need certain arterial lines or IV lines, we can make those for them and make sure that they have what they need to take care of the patient. We had a teenager come into the hospital after a car accident, and it was a bad situation. The patient was not doing well, and I was called into the trauma room, the trauma OR. My job is just so rewarding because I'm able to help in those life-saving situations and have better patient outcomes.
Although hospitals in the North region are prepared for situations such as this, members of the community are still needed to donate blood for various life-saving situations. Garth England Blood Donation Center in Fort Collins offers the Huska Halloween Blood Drive, which is a fun and festive take on giving blood.
This is our 21st year of having a Halloween blood drive. We love doing it, and it's a fun time for us. When I was in college, I started donating. And then when my mom was in the hospital with cancer, we started donating on a regular basis. It just became part of our lives. It's so easy to do. And it's a great way to save a couple lives. And all the blood stays right here in our community when you give it Garth England. It's really a local event for Northern Colorado.
Even though this year's Huska Halloween blood drive has come and gone, the chance for a patient needing a blood transfusion still stands, no matter the day or time of year.
Things happen in our daily lives that we don't expect. Car accidents, all sorts of other traumatic accidents and things like that. And I know that if I'm a patient here, or if someone that I love is a patient here, that they will be taken care of.
I donated blood for the first time at Garth England, and being an anesthesia technician myself, it was great to see how members of the community and healthcare workers come together to make us stronger and better prepared for the unknown.
Front Range Community College received free laptops for low-income students, thanks to the partnership between a Fort Collins nonprofit organization and one of the city's most popular breweries. The Rotary Club of Fort Collins and New Belgium Brewing Company came together to deliver 10 used laptops from the New Belgium to the FRCC Larimer campus back in August, marking the first round of laptop donations. These contributions allow low-income students to succeed without the worry of how they will afford one on their own. Rotary's Derek Godfrey says they are in the process of creating a program at FRCC to reach more financially qualified students. Currently, the Rotary is working with FRCC, searching for multiple donations of used but well-working laptops that are 5 years old or newer from businesses in the Fort Collins community to donate to students in need. We now toss it over to our reporter, Zoe Heyman, who has more on yet another upcoming holiday.
Take it away, Zoe.
Thanks, guys. The Global Village Museum in Old Town put on an exhibit in honor of Dia de los Muertos. From skulls to altars, this exhibit was absolutely beautiful. Dia de los Muertos is a multiple-day celebration to honor those who have passed on. Even though this holiday stemmed from Latin America, its traditions has made its way over to the United States.
There's an even more, I think, ever more increasing population of Latin American people. So I think there's going to be even more, exposure for Americans here. And so the more exposure they get to it, the more obviously they learn from it. And I think that allows for an increase of tolerance and acceptability of variations.
The museum also offered an interactive part of the exhibit, where visitors were more than welcome to write notes to their lost loved ones.
It's a lot of good history, it's like looking at very important people for Latin American culture and that have made a difference in how people live today. The amount of exceptional work and artwork and just different tastes of people's experiences that they've had kind of is blended in this museum and this exhibit, and I think that makes for an interesting kind of experience for people.
If you are curious to learn more about the Day of the Dead, the Global Village Museum will be having this exhibit open until November 19th. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Zoe. And that brings us to the end of our news for you tonight, Rams.
Don't leave the court just yet, though. Leah Kukowski is up next to provide a complete rundown on the upcoming basketball season.